Hello. Can everyone hear me? Yeah, thanks everyone for coming down. And the Tetrachords here, this was creation from Josh, and Josh came to Berlin about 3 years ago and gave me a prototype of this module. Looked a little different to what it does now. Had some big DIN MIDI things on it, and yeah, there was no cycle instruments at the time. It was just sort of starting out, and they had this brilliant idea of creating a harmonic sequencer for, or I guess a harmonic organizer, because it's not strictly speaking a sequencer, but this idea of splitting up rhythm and harmony. And this was kind of something that I've been working on and kind of dreaming about something very similar to this for a long time. So I was very happy to get the prototype from Josh, and yeah, I've spent the last few years kind of getting quite deep into it, and yeah, eventually it came to market, and they had a finished version, and yeah, I've found a lot of great uses for it in collaborations. One thing that that I've done a lot this year is work with people who create rhythmic information. So I did a project with a drummer called Arthur Hanatek from Switzerland, and he's sending me rhythmic MIDI from his drum kit. I have another project with Bendit Giska, saxophonist, and we have some sensors on his saxophone that is also creating a lot of rhythmic MIDI information that then gets kind of sent into here and computed and then sent out to my synthesizers. So it is a Eurorack module, obviously, but it's got very good comprehensive MIDI specifications. So in this particular setup, I'm really just receiving MIDI. In this case, I've got 6 channels of just drum sequencing that's going into the Nord drum. I'm kind of doing that basically to simulate what I would simulate the setup that I would have with Arthur, the drummer. And what I can do with this rhythmic information in these 6 channels, I can then assign any or all of these 6 channels to any of these 4 harmonic channels here. So this has 4 voices. They can be arpeggios, they can be chords, and you also have quite comprehensive control of where the notes that are created sit within a harmonic scheme. And so you might have noticed I'm using the joystick a lot. I've got this joystick assigned to fairly similar parameters on each of the 4 channels. So so I've got the x-axis here controlling the sort of pitch register, so I can pitch the notes within the scale. I can push it between intervals and go up and down octaves, or yeah, there's any of these parameters you can assign to external modulation sources, CV sources. So x-axis is pitch and the y-axis is doing velocity. So so this, yeah, the Gliss module here is I don't know if you can see, it's coming in and affecting the joystick. So it's sort of working the opposite way around because I've got it turned around. But you have 6 modulation inputs here that you can assign. I've just got the XY assigned here, but you could get kind of crazy with modulation sources, and each channel can be either an arpeggio or a chord. So this first one here is working in chord mode. That is assigned, let's see, that's assigned to channels 10 and 11, so these two here. So if I unmute those and turn that down, so you can see, hopefully you can see that these two rhythmic channels, they're being sent to the retro kits on USB. This acts as like a MIDI host and takes all the MIDI in from the USB and then merges it and spits it back out. Well, that's not so important, but these two channels here are triggering the chord, which is here, and then so the velocity is on the Y. So if you see on the X-axis, this is the inversion knob. You can't really see the what it's saying on there, but this allows me to scroll through the inversions. And then what else do we have? There's I've got the bass line attached to the kick drum here. So if I that's just triggering the drum machine directly. If I there's the bass line, and then you can make progressions with it with the patterns. So I've just programmed a sort of six different chords in a row. This is my bass channel here. You can see the trigger coming in. So let's have a look at the each channel. So this is a monophonic channel. Sorry, an arpeggio channel for the bass. So if you start putting extra notes in, then it will play through these notes in accordance with the path setting that you assign here. And the way that it works is that you set a scale. So I'm in the minor scale here. The scale is split into two halves. So you have this is the sort of concept. I guess Josh can explain the concept of tetrachords a little bit better, but essentially you have here you have the root and you have the octave. Here is the fifth, there's the fourth, there's the third, in this case a minor third. And then each of these two sections of 4 notes, you can adjust how adjust the pitch register first with these. Actually, because I've got that assigned, so I don't know if you can see that's moving these 2 notes up a little bit, an octave. Down here we don't have it assigned, so so you've got separate control over the first 4 tones and the last 4 tones in terms of where where in the scale the notes will happen. Another cool thing about this is you have a little step sequencer in here. So if I put this on, then I can play a sequence of notes. So this will sort of override the path settings if you use the step sequencer. Kind of works a little bit like the 101 or the sequential Pro 1 sequencer. It just skips to the next note as it gets a trigger. Yeah, maybe we can. So the modulation, the way that you can kind of assign things like a joystick or some other, CV source is quite simple. You just hold mod, and then you can select from the different inputs. So you see here you've got 6 kind of illuminated pills on the top of these buttons here. This means that the modulation source will be the first one, which in this case is the pitch, or what I assign to the pitch. So if I were to, you can see these 2 flash up when I touch it. This means that these are both assigned to modulation input 1. So the buttons here now do a different function. So this means that the 3rd, 4th, and 5th octave will be active. So if I go even further up, we're going quite high into the sort of MIDI note register. Same with this one, we've just got octaves 3 and 4. So this is pushing the notes between octaves 3 and 4, essentially. And the other mod is the y-axis, which is this can also be bipolar, or you can have different sort of CV inputs. You can have trigger, unipolar, or bipolar. This I have assigned to the velocity of this particular voice. And within the digitone, I've got some parameters assigned to the velocity, like opening the filter and the envelope decay and things. So that works the same way. The velocity for that, if I hold shift, then it's there. So this is the full velocity range. If I just wanted it to use half the range, so 64 to 127, then I can just switch the first 4 off. If I have all of them on, then right at the bottom is sort of 0 or 1 velocity. So I hope you're getting a sort of an idea of the potential of this thing. If I put that into chord mode, then you get a 5 notes chord here. So that's a kind of overview of each of the channels, how to do the modulation. Progressions. So you have 8 songs, which each have 8 progressions, which each have 8 patterns. So so the idea is that you can kind of make quite complex arrangements with the thing. I've got kind of 6 active patterns here so far. I don't know if you can see on this light here. Probably not. No, it all looks the same. So what you can do. So if you're working in, maybe I'll put it in a song that I've got empty here, and then we can do it from here. So MIDI in, shift MIDI in, and then so on the MIDI in, you've got the bottom row, which is a simple trigger to the note settings. On the top, if you select a MIDI channel, then that quantizes. I'm not using that in this scenario. So what we have is the first 4 quantize and triggering. There's 5 to 8. And here we have 9, 10, 11, 12. So these triggers here are on channels 9 to 14. So if I want this one, then I just select channel 10 here. If I wanted it to trigger also with the 13, then I would go over here and choose that. So now it's triggering off both of these 2 trigger inputs. So we're currently in C. Let's say if I wanted to have the root as A, then you hold pattern down, and then the root for that pattern, number 1 here. See the light above the button there? That's the pattern that we're in. So if I want to make a progression, let's say I'll put something in, make a different I just put a root note in there just for make it clearer. So if I want to make a second part of the progression, I would hold pattern and press the right button, and then change some parameters. So So then we can just make a third pattern as well. So that's how you sort of work out song structures. This is all within pattern. So this could be, say, section 1 of a song, and then you could make a different program. So if you wanted a different section in the song. Section 1. I'm using this with MIDI, but obviously you can use the 4 trigger inputs to do the same thing as what I'm doing here with sort of assigning MIDI rhythmic information to each channel. And also there's 4 CV outputs, and you can assign these to be anything you want. I could, if you had, let's say, some other stuff going on with MIDI, but you had a polyphonic patch, you could have all of these being CV outputs for a chord. Or, in this case, I've got, when they flash, that means they're assigned to be a trigger. So I've got, at the moment, I've got this this channel here triggering a kind of sample and hold random CV generator that goes into the joystick, so it kind of gives a bit of automatic kind of variation. It's great in both environments. It's amazing to use as a Eurorack module with CVs and triggers, but I've had so much fun with it just as a kind of a bridge between performers, people generating rhythmic information, and my synthesizers. So it's this kind of amazing translator, and yeah, performing with, say, the project with Bendik, he has very clear keys that he's playing in, and he modulates and goes through different chord progressions. I can configure this to match exactly the chords that he's playing. He just kind of tells me what we're doing in the song, or sometimes it's the other way around. And yeah, just using the left and right buttons to move between the different sections of the song. I can follow him, follow Bendik as a performer, yeah, the same with the drummer, except that then there's no, I don't need to follow Arthur's. He doesn't have any sort of harmony with what he's doing. So then there's a bit more freedom, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of incredible that you can configure this thing to be able to perform it with other musicians like a musician. It's the first time really with modular that I felt like, wow, this is actually like an instrument that I can perform and also, yeah, perform with other musicians. I love this concept of separating rhythm and harmony as well, and having these as sort of two separate decision-making processes. I think we're, you know, as composers, you're quite used to making all the decisions at one point. If you're using a piano roll or something, you're making the decisions for rhythm and harmony at the same time. When you split these up and maybe even have different people involved with this, with this as a sort of collaborative thing, then it opens up a new set of possibilities. So yeah, with these collaborations, I really just have to think about tone, harmony, hitting the right, you know, cues for when we're progressing through a song. But I don't have to think at all about like playing this note at the right time. It's that's all kind of outsourced to somebody else, which is just a great feeling. I mean, with Bendic, we I also have like a Nord Nord Wave 2, which has some kind of sampling capabilities, and I often use one channel to do kind of live percussion type samples. So we have one track where there's like a sort of a djembe bongo type sample set, and his way of playing is quite percussive anyway. So we start the track and he's just kind of playing a bongo with his playing the bongo with his saxophone, and then I can kind of like slowly bring in different elements. You know, I can sort of focus in on particular keys that he's playing that I want to trigger certain sounds. Like there might be an obvious valve that would work well with the bass line, so I'll pick out that MIDI channel that that relates to that valve and assign it to the bass, and yeah, it you end up with this kind of aesthetic that's quite hard to replicate any other way, because he's not playing to a click. He's the clock. He's generating all of the MIDI, all of the rhythmic information. But it just sounds like a very tight, well-rehearsed band, whereas I'm basically just wiggling this like joystick and, you know, pressing backwards and forwards. So it's a incredible hack if you want to appear like a talented musician who knows what they're doing. Yeah, and is there anything, Josh, that I should mention or anything? Yeah. So the 4 channels are can work independently. They sort of function very nicely when they're linked. So you can't see it, but afterwards you can have a look. This link button here allows you to say what follows what. So the first channel is always the sort of master channel, and then these other ones, 2, 3, and 4, you can link to the master channel. So so you know, when I was making that little 3-chord progression just with the polyphonic sound, I didn't need to change anything for the bass. It was just following the changes in route that I was programming for the first channel. You can separate that, and you can make it so that each channel is independent. which yeah, for some things is useful. And there's also a kind of a half link, which leaves some of the parameters open. I'm not sure. I don't really use the half link very much, but and there's also a sort of read, write, or jam, read, and write, which in write mode, if I change something here, and move back, then it sort of saves whatever changes I did in that pattern. But I can put it on different mode, jam mode, and then these keys, they sort of persist between the patterns. So if I was, let's say, so it just gives you another way of sort of playing it. So so then you can bring notes in and out of the chord or in and out of the arpeggio as you go along. If I put it back on right, then you see each note configuration is saved per pattern. What else do I have? Got another song here. So yeah, I think we've got like 10 minutes left. Maybe I just play one other thing, and then we can do kind of questions, or actually I think Josh would be good for you to maybe say a few words, or okay. Actually, before I start, there's one thing that I just discovered yesterday. There's also MIDI CC in here, and you can also assign that with the modulation matrix to different parameters. So I don't know if you can see here, this x-axis of the joystick, I've assigned that to some of the parameters in here. So I could, in theory, I could have all of these, different sort of synthesis parameters being modulated by the joystick. So it can also function as a kind of clever CV to MIDI converter, if you wanted to. This is just controlling the mod wheel, which I've got assigned to decay of these two channels here. But Cool. Thank you. Josh, do you want to join? I'm going to give you the headset because they only have one.
Hello. Firstly, I just want to say what an amazing job Sam just did explaining a module that he didn't make to someone sitting who did. It felt a bit like a weird exam. Yeah. But I mean, he's taken the module, and as he said, like, we gave it to him very early in the prototype stage, and that was incredible for us to get feedback and yeah, just work off each other and create the final thing. I'm just going to say a few brief things just from the manufacturer's perspective about what we were trying to do with the module. I built it with my old guitar teacher from high school, when I was in high school, Nick Lavers. He's kind of the brainchild behind taking the musical idea of tetrachords, which is quite an obscure, abstract concept of stacking the 8 notes of a scale on top of each other and then changing in groups of 4 the relationship, tonal relationship between those 2 stacks. And doing that, you can create any scale that we commonly refer to as a scale, and also new scales that we don't really have names for. So in the manual of the tetrachords, which is 165 pages long, there's like a scale recipe book, and that gives like a bunch of common scales, but there's many more you can create. It's really inspiring to see the way that Sam's using it with other musicians. That was kind of the main impetus for making the module, was like both Nick and I were rehearsing, just jamming a lot on modular. We're both like musicians in the sense that we've studied playing an instrument, like a normal, like guitar or whatever. And when you do that, we like to think of it as you like to develop like a kind of like a map, like a musical map of like places where you can go within a piece of music. So if you're like jamming and you're in a certain key, you as a musician might develop like a sense of like, okay, if I go to the 6th, and you might not even know what the name of that is, but you might know like, oh, if I'm on guitar and I go from this chord to this chord, like that sounds good and I like that. So we all develop that as musicians, but being able to transfer that knowledge to something like a modular system or like another instrument is kind of the barrier. So we wanted to create something that allowed you to everyone to take what knowledge they have and apply it to a modular system, which, you know, they're complicated things and sometimes it's difficult to sequence in a way that you want to. So this was an attempt to be able to give you more freedom in going places harmonically. And it's cool that Sam and other people have managed to kind of translate their musical knowledge into the wider modular system. There's one more way to think about it, which is like in jazz music, which whatever, but you have standards, which is actually a really cool concept. You have like a real book, and you can just give that out to any jazz musician or any musician, and it just has like a page of chords, and then you as the musicians kind of like take that as the basic building block and then play it. And every jazz standard, when you play it, it's kind of different and it has the style of whoever's playing. And that's how we see this kind of sequencer. It's like you will set up your set or your patch as in a very kind of static way, but then you can perform it in kind of any way you want. And you can make changes on the fly, like you can add in new notes or you can change the inversion very quickly and very easily. So every performance, if you just build a set, have it, and then every performance you can just perform it how you're feeling it, which is, it's like a cool thing to be able to do with hardware. So that's a few thoughts from the manufacturers. I guess we'll now go to questions. You can maybe ask Sam questions and me if you have any questions. But thanks for Schneiders for putting this on. Yeah.